Hi there and welcome to a new episode of Afterthoughts. My name is Wim Winters and tonight we've recorded many things. We've recorded grammar etudes and we've recorded 6 inventions of Bach, by Bach. So just to schedule a little bit our recordings for YouTube and work on our scheme that we have some recordings ahead. I don't know yet when they will be released, but on the moment you hear this, you will know, and I will know probably as well. I will record a Haydn sonata next week, do 3 more of the inventions, and then we have done all 15. So, to start with the edition, I'm playing here from the old Czerny edition. The Peters edition made by Czerny, Griepenkerl and Reusch. So Griepenkerl, very famous editor for the organ works of Bach. It's a very important source actually because he was in the tradition. He knew Forkel of course, it's the Bach tradition. I had lessons from Emanuel Bach and had correspondence with Friedemann and Emanuel. So the connection, it's not by accident that this edition was published, and probably not as well that they asked Czerny, which was by that time one of the greatest keyboard player, very, very, very underestimated personality. He did not only write boring exercises, they're not all boring by the way, but he wrote incredibly much music. Also fugues, preludes and fugues and all things like that. So they were very much influenced by Bach. This revival took place in that period. We have addressed it later. Forkel tradition, Griepenkerl, revival of the clavichord maybe. But it's not that this edition is very accurate. It's interesting because Czerny adds some elements like forte and piano. He adds some own ornaments. We've talked about that in the previous episodes on these inventions. So that's for that. He adds tempo indications, which are very interesting. We address that later. Maybe it's very controversial. Certainly the metronome marks, but his fingering is not. It's often very good, not always. So just to be able to study it as in the fastest way possible, I just run through this edition first and change the fingering that I don't like, but at least I have the basic fingering there, and then I just copy the fingering in the other edition of which I'm playing. It's the old Bach Gesellschaft edition. It's not the best edition, but we've talked about that in the previous episode as well. It's a very good edition, the old edition, which is of course the Dover edition. It's this one. It follows the sources very carefully. But of course today we have different editions and maybe better, but that's the reason that I just play number 10, 11 and 12 from this edition. So, okay, number 12 is in 9/8 bar structure, and this is important to realize that 9/8 is not to be played like a 3/4 bar structure with triplets. That would make a different piece. The tempo I've chosen, however, I could imagine a little bit faster, but to have a firm feeling of the 8-note structure and not to let the 8 notes feel as triplets. That would sound like this. It's not, because Bach would have written differently. 9/8 is an 8-note. It gives a kind of very nice feeling. Remember also the grammar etudes where Beethoven wrote all these remarks, and if you haven't seen that, you could find these Afterthoughts editions, because we talk about accentuation and this kind of rhythmical figures verses, like Beethoven is always comparing this music accentuation with the poetry verses. This is very much alike. Beethoven would, if you would translate that to grammar, Beethoven would have written here that you have to make the accent on the first 8th note and make clear that the third one is the release or the soft note of the group, and needs accentuation as well. Tam, pam, 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 pam. And the clavichord, of course, this works great because you only have to play the note a little bit faster, and you have the accent that's wanted. And then you have this rather very pleasant, joyful, a little bit funny maybe, in a way that's joyful feeling and movement of the piece. Listen to the difference. Maybe on the recording I didn't emphasize that as much as I do now. And for that, these Afterthoughts editions are for me also interesting because, you know, I dive into this music in a way I usually don't do when I'm practicing. I'm not talking to myself, you know, if I'm practicing. But while doing that to you, or through this camera, but you behind the camera, I hope, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this. This enhances also insight in the music, so it's wonderful to do this. Having said this, you feel this accent on the smaller accent on the third 8th note gives kind of jump feeling to this piece. What is difficult then is just to maintain this tempo and this accentuation pattern, because when you lose it, it's over. Difficult drill here, and I just add some. Just take some time from the previous one. So I'm not playing them together, as you should actually if you follow the sources correctly, but I think that's a practical thing that you can hardly describe in any source. Okay, that goes on like that, and then the trill, just continue with that on the left hand, very strong, emphasize very strong the accentuation pattern on the left hand. And then just make a new beginning of the trill. I like it very much because it goes to E minor, not actually to E minor, but it shifted to the E minor chord. And then to end the trill, I make a turn. Strictly spoken, it's a slur, but I just play the B again. Wonderful. If you play in harmony, then the instrument is completely free from its soundboard, so the sound just jumps out of it. Then this beautiful invention in G minor. Also here I choose to play in a quarter note structure, so not too slow. Kind of legato in the sense that it is a very heavy feeling, it's very sad, it's G minor, so it's complete contrast with the previous one. So like if I No. I don't play the trill on the G. I don't like it. And then wait on this syncopa. As long as you can stand, I mean, the movement may not, it should not break on that, but you just give a little bit of more, more drama to that, just by holding it as long as you can. And listen to the slight hesitation in the right hand. It's hard to hear, but it's there, and that gives the left hand the room just to wait a little bit longer. And since we, as a listener, are in this rhythm, da 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 dee da dee da dee da da da, we don't expect that dum dum bum. That's what we expect, but we hear dum dum just a little bit longer, and those are the small things that gets our attention. And also here, like we talked in the previous episode about this three-dimensionality, it's adding to that. So here. Articulation. Down you have it here in the. So don't play it like this. Okay. Enhance the figures by articulating, by phrasing. So if you sometimes listen to a recording and say, that's really striking, I mean that's appealing. I can follow the structure very clear. That's these small things are doing that. That's not easy, but I can just show it. Also hear this quarter note. Don't make him too long, because if you make him too long, you draw attention to that note, and that's not what should, because the right hand is. So make it just a little bit slightly going up. Independent articulation, accentuations, actually always the same thing. Here in this allegro, what's Czerny describes as allegro, the A major, the 12th one, I always also choose not to play it too fast, so just to have a gentle movement that allows some slight articulation differences in the 16th notes. But also here, definitely, when this would have been the Kramer etude, Beethoven would have written, make sure that he would have written a line and a half circle here, just to indicate the way this would have been. This is complete like you find things in Kramer's etudes, and as Beethoven right there wrote there, or Schindler wrote, and he signed that the Kramer etudes give solutions for every musical thinkable difficulty. It's true, you find it there. Listen to the A. It's different. If you don't do that, you might want to play it a little bit faster, because You need this movement. And also here in this piece, make your phrasings there where they should be, but don't let these phrasing interfere with the other hand like here. Also here. Always the same. Also when this very dramatic entrance, you shouldn't forget the left hand. So and so on. So this movement, this perpetuum mobile, as I feel it often, is very important. And by giving accents to the right note, you enhance this feeling of proceeding, but just in a metrical way, not in a way that you try to make long bows with tension. It's just very relaxing every time the same thing. And there, this microstructure of polyphony, independence of left and right hand happens all the time. And that's so nice to play, and I hope that it was also very nice to listen to. Anyway, still 3 to go, and looking forward to record that and sharing that with you. And thank you very much for following this channel and watching this. And as I always say, if something is there something that you would like to ask, don't hesitate and leave a comment in the description box. So thank you for watching. Thank you as always for subscribing to this channel, and also to share these videos with your friends. We see each other very soon again. Bye.